Hello, and welcome to another episode of Break the Cycle with me, your host, Joshua Smith. Hope everyone is having a wonderful Thursday. I think it's Thursday. It is Thursday. I just got done working 9 12-hour shifts in a row, and the fact that I'm still upright is insane to me, but I'm making it and making do. I'll be at the Minnesota State Libertarian Party Convention this weekend. I'm going to head up there sometime tomorrow afternoon, so I'll be there tomorrow night and Saturday all through the day, and heading home Sunday. I think it's about a 4.5-hour drive for me up there. So that's going to be fun if you guys are in the area somewhere, anywhere in the Midwest where you can drive there in 4 hours. Come say hi, have a drink, let's hang out. I'm excited to get out and go see some Libertarians, and I think Dave Smith's going to be there as well this weekend, so you'll get to see me at both the Smiths. Two Smiths don't make a right. That's what I like to say. So it's going to be fun. So hopefully if you guys are in the area, I'll get to see David Brady tomorrow and some other really cool people, James Gentleman, who's been on the show as well. So very excited for that. Guys, please check out my sponsors. Of course, we have toplobster.com, the man, the myth, the legend, my good friend and partner on Break the Cycle, where you can get this great Joe Biden wear the mask shirt that you see me wearing tonight, or this awesome pillow that you see on my couch. That is a custom Break the Cycle logoed pillow that you can get all that stuff on at toplobster.com by using BTC at checkout for a 10% discount, or join the Patreon, become a member of my Subscribe Star, or become a member of the YouTube channel under all my videos by hitting the join link, where you can get into a private Discord server with a lot of really great people, by the way, including Stefan Kinsella. If you didn't know, he's a supporter and patron of the show. And you can get all Top Lobster's new gear up to 2 weeks before it goes to the general public at like a 30% discount. Really great stuff, guys. And of course, executive producers of the show, anthemplanning.com, for all your emergency and crisis planning needs. Check them out today. See what they can do for your business, home, or personal life. They're doing a wonderful job that the government has historically sucked at, much cheaper and much more efficiently. Seriously, I say it every show, but if you own a business or you're getting into some kind of business, or you have, you have some kind of business problem, go to anthemplanning.com, because I'm telling you, they're wonderful people, and they know what they're doing. Very, very smart people. So see what they can do for you today, man, and tell them that Josh sent you. I'm sure they'll give you some kind of cool discount. Guys, we've got a great show for you tonight. I'm very excited. I've been following this gentleman on Twitter for a while. He follows me as well. I noticed recently that he was talking about the COVID vaccine mandates, and losing his job. And it sounds like there's a lot of people disgruntled at his job. So we got to talking, and I asked him if he wanted to come on the show and talk about it. He is a video production and editing gentleman who is in the midst of trying to re-job himself to get away from this absolute tyranny. He is Mr. Mike Seymour Mac. Sir, how are you doing tonight?
Very good. Thank you for having me, man. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you on, man. And you know what, dude? I have a lot of people on the show, right? Like, I think we did between March 2021 and 2022, I did 150 shows. You have one of the best setups I've seen so far, man. It sounds good. It looks good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, fucking thank you, video production guy.
Yeah, it pays off actually to do what I'm doing, I guess. I do a little gaming on the side too, so that's why the lights look nice.
Nice.
And yeah, and I used to have like a crypto podcast show, which I had no business doing at all, like many moons ago. And then I used to do a cardio and chat where I tricked myself into doing cardio, and I would just live stream it on Facebook.
Oh, nice.
And then that lasted, not long enough for sure.
Nice.
I should probably get back into that.
Do you do Twitch streams and stuff when you're gaming?
No, I don't do Twitch streams. I was like doing a little Facebook stream and a little bit of YouTube stream, and I don't really stream that much. Just play with my family, and then we cut some clips. But I haven't even been doing that because I've just been stressing about losing my job.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, absolutely, man. You know, it's might be something to look into, man. You get to play video games and get paid on Twitch, dude. You know what I mean? It's kind of cool if you're funny.
Yeah, I'm a funny guy. I swear, I'll crack a joke or two. It's not easy though, man. When I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that's easy. I'll just start a YouTube channel and then it'll just grow by itself. And it doesn't work that way.
It's very hard, dude. Very hard, yeah. and it takes a lot. I mean, you're obviously, if you really dug into OBS, you'd probably be able to do some pretty cool Twitch stuff because you know how to do video production, and it's really just like video production on the fly mostly, except you're not like cutting and editing.
Yep.
So I don't doubt that you could probably do a good job, but let's talk a little bit about you. So you've been working at the shop for a while. COVID rolls around, the dirty flu that's going to kill everybody in the winter. And now they're telling you that you have to put this experimental drug into your body, or you're going to be let go. But before we get into that, I want to know, you're a libertarian. You tell me you're a libertarian. What brought you to that ideology, man?
Ron Paul, like any good libertarian. Ron Paul was the guy. Yeah. So like, I got him back here up on the wall. Probably about like 2007, I found out about him and I started attending like end Fed rallies. Actually, is where I met Mike Heiss.
Nice.
Met him like over 10 years ago, and him and I think Mike Salvi and Keith Smith, another Smith. They were kind of throwing these things, and that's where I met all these guys at. And through my friend Moses, Moses Flows, he's on Twitter as well. Follow him; he's a good follow. We just kind of started getting into it. We were always into you could say the conspiracy theories and just kind of like not going along just to get along. And we stumbled across Ron Paul, and as soon as we did, we just knew this is where we belonged. And to take a quote from Moses, though, we're so libertarian, we never registered with the Libertarian Party until very recently. Yeah. And I really got that from him. So another shout out to him for sure. But I just didn't see the Libertarian Party as a viable option, especially to go through the process of registering with until very, very recently, until the Mises Caucus showed up on the scene. And then I realized, okay, these guys mean business. Sure. These guys are actually going to get something done. So, so now I am a registered libertarian, which is great. But, I was a registered Democrat, when I was fresh out of high school, voted for Obama. And then I was a registered Republican to vote for Ron Paul, Dr. Paul. And then I just kind of stayed a Republican until a few years ago,
sure.
When the Mises Caucus showed up.
Are you a Pennsylvania guy too then?
Yeah. Yeah,
Nice.
Poconos.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've been there a few times now, man. I went to the Philly State Convention a couple of years ago. That was a lot of fun. I had never been to Philadelphia, and I'm a Cowboys fan, so it's like really not supposed to be in Philadelphia, I don't think. But
yeah,
I enjoyed it, man. I had a really good time there, and the food was great, and the bars were cool, and everybody's really cool. It's surprising, like I'm from the hood. Philly's kind of the hood. It's surprising how people from the hood just kind of get along.
Yeah. Right? No, Philly's good, man. Philly's a lot of fun. I don't go to Philly that much anymore because I'm older, so right. It's a little drive for me. It's about a 2-hour drive. I got a little kid and a wife, and up until very recently was just working all the time. So I'm gonna have some free time on my hands. It sounds like.
So let's talk about that. I wanted to say the name of your company that you work for when I was introducing you. I cannot remember that name at all. It's very strange name. How long have you been working there, man?
So I've been with Sanofi Pasteur for 12 years. They're probably one of the largest vaccine manufacturers in the entire world. They have sites in every single country, practically every single continent, everywhere from China to Russia to Canada and here in Swiftwater, PA. So yeah, I've been there for 12 years. Started out as a temp through a temp agency. I did that for about 5 years. There was a hiring freeze for 4 of those years, and then got hired full time. And I worked directly in influenza production. So I worked for about 11 out of my 12 years in my career directly in flu vaccine production, where we're actually getting, when we get the chicken embryos and the eggs, 11-day-old embryos. It's kind of, I don't know how familiar you are with how these things are made. But everything from the egg rooms, the beginning of the process, all the way till we package it up and send it out the door. I pretty much worked every single step of the way. So I'm pretty familiar with the process on how to make vaccines. Now, I'm not my current title is actually a manager associate scientist, which is a little misnomer because I'm not technically a scientist. I'm actually a visual scientist. So what I do now is, let's say, actually, for example, we're trying to make a COVID vaccine. We need to inspect these vaccines once they get into the syringe or the vial through a machine. And what my department does, what my group does, is we develop the recipe for those machines. So that way, let's say there's like a particulate, a piece of glass, a hair, a fiber, something like that inside of the vial or the syringe. This machine will basically be able to pick it out and reject it. So that way, whatever is going to the customer, going to the patient, is pretty much free and clear of any erroneous material. So the group I work with now, we develop those recipes for those machines. And it's really interesting. I mean, I fell kind of ass backwards into this job. I worked a lot of dead end jobs, a lot of construction, a lot of, bartending, bar back and shit like that.
All of it.
Yeah. And then I was just really good at it. I decided like, okay, let me lock down with just, one job. Let me see if I could follow a career let me see if I could hold a job for more than a year or two. And then it turned into 12 years. And, I've been probably the highest performer in my departments, each department that I've been in. And just really dedicated to the company and to the mission of producing these vaccines, these safe and effective vaccines, as we hear so often, now on TV. So there's maybe some misconceptions about who I might be or what type of person I might be, and I'm not an anti-vaxxer. These 200 plus people at my site in Swiftwater who are losing their jobs along with me, these people are not anti-vaxxers. Although if the company and if the industry wanted to create anti-vaxxers, this is the way to do it.
Sure.
The approach that they're taking now.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And, I've never been an anti-vaxxer either, I've always been like, vaccines are good. They're safe. They're effective. They work. We don't have polio anymore. You know what I mean? Like, yep. And for people that watch my show that don't know, I went to nursing school in 2013, 2014, graduated with my LPN back, way back then. So like I've learned about vaccines quite a bit and I had to learn a lot about the trials process. That's something that we had to study. I still don't know to this day why they spent like 2 weeks teaching us the trial process, because LPNs are not involved in drug trials almost at all, right? And so but something that we had to learn a lot about, and so that was really alarming to me when I saw this one, because I know what it takes to bring a drug to market. And it was so fast. It was so fast and so crazy to me that I was like, this can't be right. But I've never been an anti-vaxxer. I never have. My fiance she actually was one of the founders of Informed Choice Iowa here in Iowa, which is the medical freedom group that lobbies and the legislature to roll back some of this medical tyranny. So that she's been doing this for a long time, and she is anti-vax. I mean, legitimately will tell you, yes, I'm anti-vaccine. I think they're bad. She was vaccine injured several years ago, and she had to do all kinds of shit to try and get better. She got like autoimmune issues from it. And I actually have a vaccine injury as well, something that I haven't talked about a lot on the show, but I had to get the anthrax vaccine when I was in the military, and it fucked me up for a good long time, dude. I mean, I lost patches of my hair. I was sick. It swole my armpits up. It was really fucked up. Like it made me very, very, and I probably am still dealing with some immune shit from it.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't an anti-vaxxer even after that, because I'm like, well, they had back then it was like, well, they had to give me the anthrax vaccine because we were going in the Middle East and they have anthrax over there. We come to find out there was no anthrax over there, but they have anthrax over there. And so they had to protect me from the anthrax so I didn't die of anthrax and blah, 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 blah. I also got like the smallpox injection. I got all these shots that people don't get. I mean, they just don't get. So I was never an anti-vaxxer until I met my fiance, who is like, we had some serious arguments in the beginning because I have this medical background. I worked in skilled nursing on and off for 10 years, and I studied it, and she got me to start thinking about it in a different way, right? Because I was always like, anything they taught me was the right thing, period. And then, and for a guy who doesn't trust the government or these big corporations, it's really silly that I was just like intently believing everything they said, right? And so she got me thinking about it a different way. She started giving me stats, real figures. She started showing me studies. She had me read books, and I love to read, And so over the course of the last 2 years, while this COVID thing was going off, I have become anti-vax, right? I've gotten to a point where I'm like, fuck all these things. And I've never taken the flu vax. I just get the flu once every 3 years, and I'm fine. But I went through something similar to what you're going through, right? At work, my job said by December 8th they were going to walk us out of the building if we didn't have our vaccine on December 7th. And so I organized the guys in my department, which there isn't very many, and I said, look, we can fill out religious exemptions. Thankfully, we're in Iowa. We can do that, or we can tell them that our last day is December 7th, and we'll all be leaving. And I kind of got him hyped up on the fact that, like, hey, we don't need to do these things because we should have the choice to take what we want to take. And so they did it with me. Yeah. Thankfully, they ended our mandate on December 4th, 4 days before we thought we were going to be walked out of the building. But I understand with a much bigger company like yours, it's very hard to do. So when did this stuff start for you guys?
Yeah. So, first of all, you guys being in the military, I mean, you guys are like the guinea pigs.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that anthrax shit, you couldn't find that along with the WMDs while you were out there, man. I mean, they were probably hidden in the same fucking mobile trucks or whatever Colin Powell was talking about. Yeah. But yeah, it's interesting because, everybody thinks, so I woke up this morning, I'll tell a little story. I woke up this morning to a Facebook message from somebody, an online friend. I think he's in New Zealand or Australia, just to kind of tell probably where his point of view is. And he basically just said that I had some, oh man, I can't remember what he said. Cognitive dissonance. He was trying to figure out. I just did the interview with Clint Russell on Liberty Lockdown, And I posted that on my Facebook page, and he said, that was his comment to me. I'm trying to understand. It seems like you have cognitive dissonance. He's since apologized because I called him out on it. And I accept his apology for sure. But he admitted that he said that. And then he said, well, I didn't even watch the interview. Well, then watch the fucking interview, man. Because if you watch the interview, then you'll have the answers to all of your questions for real. So, I don't want anybody to think that I'm something that I'm not. So I just want to kind of put that out there. That's why I stated before, I'm not an anti-vax type of person. But last November is when they rolled this thing out. They kind of gave us the first communication. And my site here in Swiftwater, just to kind of give everybody a picture, it's about 2,500 employees. Those are full-time employees, temps, contractors. And basically nobody can escape this mandate. So we figured, back in November, we're like, well, this thing is starting to wane down a little bit, especially when Omicron came out. It was like the hot new thing, but it wasn't that deadly. And, everybody was getting it. I mean, everybody was getting it.
Oh, yeah.
Half my family is vaxxed. The other half isn't. And the half that was vaxxed got it first, and they gave it to the half that was unvaxxed, which is kind of funny. But last November is when they kind of communicated it to us, and we were hoping that, by January that they would kind of roll it back. And out of 2,500 people at Swiftwater, where I work, back then actually in the beginning of the year, there was about 400 people who were still unvaccinated. Right about now, the number that we're hearing is about 200, 230 people. And as we get closer, that number gets less and less because people have kids, man. Yeah. They have mortgages, they have kids. They don't see this company backing down, and I don't see the company backing down at all. No matter how many shows I try to get on and try to shame them publicly, it doesn't seem like they really give a shit. They're just going to move forward with it. And, some of the communication that they've been giving us, just for an example, everybody put in their religious exemptions. I actually wound up not putting one in because at the time I wasn't even saved. It wasn't until about 2 weeks after the religious exemption deadline came where I actually was saved, and I turned myself over to Jesus Christ and to God, and that's just been an amazing process for me. So I wound up not putting one in because, frankly, I didn't want the company to make me a liar, which is what they were doing.
Right.
I wrote an exemption letter, and I read it, and it was pretty truthful, as far as where my origin started. But of course, in order to get them to accept it, I would have to embellish a little bit. And at the end of the day, I just didn't feel right about becoming a liar. And I just had this feeling that they would not grant the exception anyway, the exemption. So you're going to make me a liar for no reason. That's kind of how I looked at it. So I didn't put it in. But all of my coworkers, basically the rest of them, the 200 plus, all put in either a medical exemption or a religious exemption. There have been a few, very, very few. I think I know of 2 now, medical exemptions that were granted. They denied medical exemption for a pregnant coworker, another coworker who has issues with fertility issues, and they denied those exemptions, which is just outstanding to me. All of the religious exemptions they denied, and then everybody appealed them, and they denied the appeal as well. And what they're stating is, it's not that we don't question your faith, but by allowing you on site, it would create an undue hardship for the company. Now, they're telling this to people who worked on site every single day through 2020 and through 2021, through the height of the pandemic, through the worst of the worst, through the scariest days. This is all while, now, mind you, the people who are shoving this down to us, from the top of the food chain, they were working from home. They had the option to work from home. These people are up in their ivory towers, it seems like, pretty much. The shit rolls downhill, I get it. But our jobs, we had to show up. We're working mostly in production areas where the only way to do the job is to actually be at the plant and to do the job. So I think it's pretty ironic that that's their response in these denial letters, that it would create an undue hardship. Now, my coworkers, I have to give a lot of credit to my coworkers. They have been slamming the company on the internal message board lately, these past few weeks. They kind of have a Facebook of sorts. They call it Yammer. And of course, they're holding all of these COVID vaccine clinics. Now, mind you, Sanofi does not have a COVID vaccine currently. They are trying to produce one, and it would not be an mRNA vaccine. It would be more of a traditional vaccine. But so what they're doing is they're pushing mainly the Pfizer vaccine. And and I think maybe the Moderna one. I'm not even sure, but I think probably mainly the Pfizer is the one that they're pushing. So they're holding all of these clinics and they're posting these things on the internal message board. And to my coworkers' credits, they have been every time they post something, they have been posting links to the side effect page. They've been posting links to all of the stories coming out. There's I wrote it down, a New Jersey judge that just forced Pfizer to disclose documentation where apparently, allegedly, we'll say, people were getting COVID within 7 days of taking a vaccine. And so it just seems very mysterious. There's just a lot of untimely information coming out for the company, but they're not backing down. So all of these people have been denied their exemptions. I do not know of a single religious, actually, I do know of one religious exemption that was granted. The coworker stated to us that in her proposal, she said that basically she would have to work from home and the company could revoke it at any time. For whatever reason, they granted that. Well, she's leaving the company anyway.
Sure.
She's not sticking around. And a lot of these people, they're not sticking around. I mean, everybody's going to drag this out until the end. The termination date is April 15th to be in compliance with the policy. And then April 20th, all of us are going to be terminated here at Swiftwater. Another really funny thing, or maybe not funny, but just showed the inconsistency of how they're rolling this policy out. Our company is a French company. They're based in France. Like I said, we have plants in basically every single country in the world except maybe North Korea and Iran. I think those might be the only two. But this isn't even being mandated in all the sites in France or in Canada, where I would like to believe we are here in America in a freer country than those two countries for sure.
Surprise.
Yeah, surprise, right? Yeah. But it turns out we're not. I mean, we're definitely heading the way of France and Canada for sure. But it seems like in this instance, at least with my company, they don't seem to care to mandate it across the board in these countries. But also in the U.S., what they say to that is every country has their own policies and their own laws. And here in the U.S., this is what we're doing. Well, they're not even mandating it at all of the sites here in the United States. In Chattanooga, Tennessee has pretty strict laws against mandating vaccinations or any kind of medical procedure through an employer. So I think for that reason, and also I think the site down there, the employees, they kind of made a ruckus. They were like, hey, listen, we're not doing that. So if you want to mandate that, we're out. And I think those two things combined probably told the company like, all right, well, it's not going to happen there. So if this was clearly about safety and health and stopping the transmission, because the way they're making it sound is if we let an unvaccinated person on site after April 20th, even though we've been on site every single day for the last 2 years, that we are going to spread this undoubtedly to the vaccinated workforce. And if you're paying attention to any of the data, to any of the information, we know that just does not make any sense. Here in March 2022, that makes absolutely no sense at all. So it seems like that's what their approach is. But if that is the reason, then why not mandate it across the board in every single plant the same exact way to ensure the safety of all of their employees? And they're just not doing that. So to us, it just doesn't make a lot of sense.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. And it's so funny because I think that's a really crazy industry for them to be saying that about. It's almost, I mean, to me, almost as crazy, not as crazy, but the medical industry, as far as like frontline healthcare workers being let go after they worked 2 years around the sickest people in the country. And then telling them, actually, you're a danger to people if you don't get this thing. It's funny you're talking about how half your family got the vaccine and then got your other half of your family sick. That's when we got Omicron recently. Everybody in my office got it from a guy who came to visit the office who had been vaccinated about a week and a half prior to coming, and then he got sick and he left, and then we all got sick 3 days later, and it was no worse than a head cold. Omicron was nothing. I mean, I've had way worse sinus infections, way worse, dude. My fiance got a little bit sick because she's pregnant. So her immune system was a little bit lower, but I mean, my 1-year-old son had a fever for like 6 hours. That was it. That was all that happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just insane to me that you'd be let go from a job you've been at for over a decade, dude. Oh, we're talking about a large portion of your life, man.
Yeah. And listen, man, I've dedicated my life these last 12 years. I've dedicated myself. There were times in some of these production rooms, especially going back, several years, where there was no third shift. So first shift would come in, and if they dropped the ball for fucking 5 hours or 8 hours, I was on second shift. Second shift had to stay, and there was no stopping. This operation runs 24/7, pretty much 365. There is some downtime to, make maintenance improvements, stuff like that. And there is flu season. So, we have like a northern hemisphere flu season and then a southern hemisphere flu season. And flu isn't the only thing that the company does. They, many other vaccines that we produce there, yellow fever and meningitis, a couple other things. And, so it's just very, very interesting. But, come to find out, and I want to give a big shout out to my coworker, Ryan. He put together a group and got us together because really the company has made it, or they've done a very good job, I should say, at making us feel like we were alone. For a while, I was like, man, I must be the only fucking idiot who's not vaccinated here. Like, seems like everybody's on board with this shit. Well, Ryan put together a group, for us to kind of start communicating with each other. And out of the 200 or so that are still unvaccinated, not everybody's on Facebook, not everybody's on social media. So you can't expect everybody to be involved, but there's about 40 of us in this group. And without him putting that thing together, we really would never have known, all right, how many of us there actually were. And between, the 40 of us, and then we've actually linked up with employees who were fired from the site in Boston and in New Jersey. Now, mind you, some of these people have been with the company 25 years. These are not like shitty workers either. These are high performing workers. They're getting the best raise that they can get every year. They're getting good reviews every year. They've dedicated their lives to this way long, twice as long as I have. And in these other sites, I want to point out, I think in Boston, and I think in one of the sites in Jersey, they can these people in the middle of January. One of these ladies, she was working with the company 24 years. She got fired in the middle of January. She never got her bonus for the year 2021 because the company waits until March to pay out the bonus. Now, it was always like a joke that you would have to get to March to get your bonus. And well, now I'm already to March, so I might as well work the rest of the year. And then you get to the end of the year thinking you're going to go work at another job. And then you're like, well, I might as well wait till March to get my bonus. And then you wind up working to the end of that year. And then before you know it, you've been there 24 years. So these people got let go in the middle of January, and they never even got their bonuses. And these are rightly deserved bonuses. They worked the complete year of 2021. They hit all their metrics, all the KPIs. They did their job. They earned those bonuses. And some of these bonuses are pretty hefty. If you're working and like salary positions, I mean, they could be 10% of your salary. So you're looking at, $10,000 or more for some of these individuals. And for them to lose their jobs, to lose the bonus, lose the benefits, if they happen to have a family, that hurts. If they happen to be single and older, they have no other income in the household to rely on. They've been in this job field. They've been with this company for 25 years, planning on retiring within the next 10 years. I mean, what does somebody like that do? So I can only imagine the pain and the stress that they're going through. And back in November, when this thing happened, I put on a really tough front. I kept telling everybody, no big deal. I'll go work at Burger King. I don't give a shit. It is what it is. And then it wasn't until January where I realized, the company's not backing down. They're just moving forward here. Right. And I started dwelling on this thing every single day. And I fell into a really deep depression, a really, really deep depression. And it's not something that's easy to talk about, but I think it's important to point out because a lot of my coworkers and, not just with my company, anybody who's watching this right now, who may be in the same situation with their company, I'm sure they're feeling this way as well. Heightened anxiety and depression and stress that I've never felt before. And that I thought that I was too tough to ever have to deal with, or that it would ever affect me in this way. And if I'm just being completely honest, I mean, it really did a number on me. And so I feel for my coworkers and anybody in this position who's dealing with this, because it's really not necessary. I get a lot of comments. One of my coworkers, Angela, she kind of kicked this thing off where she was doing a lot of the local news channels. She was doing WNEP, WBRE. There was a Fox affiliate. And of course, she does like an hour interview with them. And first of all, super brave to put her face on TV and to put her face on these news channels and put her name out there. and to tell our story, for us. So I give her a lot of credit, and she's dealing with a lot of these issues as well, obviously. But she does an hour interview with these news channels, with these reporters, and they run, 30 seconds, a minute, maybe 2 minutes. And they don't really get to the heart of the argument. One of them even spun it that we were threatening to quit if because of the mandate. And I will tell you right now, none of us are quitting. You are gonna have to fire us. So if anybody from Sanofi, because I've been tagging them in all of these posts, all of the Twitter posts that I'm making, I'm tagging Sanofi US and France and anybody that I can tag in the company. If any of you are watching, we are not quitting. We are not going to quit. You're going to have to fire us. And basically what they're saying is that you're not being terminated. You're kind of voluntarily terminating yourself. That's kind of how they're approaching this.
Sure.
And, I don't know what the long game is, for us, but we're not going away. If they thought that we were just going to shut up and be quiet and just take it on the chin and then go get another job, hopefully before the mandate ended, where they were going to be forced to fire us, which a lot of people did do. They saw the writing on the wall and they said, you know what, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Right.
I'm going to go work for another company. I'm going to go move to another state where this isn't really an issue. Because our governor here, Governor Wolf, if I'm being blunt, the guy's a piece of shit, man. He's a piece of shit. There was a bill that was being presented by Senator Doug Mastriano, and that thing basically got shelved because Wolf said that he would veto it. So, our government here in the state of Pennsylvania is not working for us. They are not really, it's funny. My company included, really, really big on diversity and inclusivity, when it comes to gender and sexual orientation and race, but not when it comes to this vaccine shit, not when it comes to this mandate, and it's specifically the COVID vaccine. They don't want any diversity, and they don't want anybody to have any kind of free thought when it comes to this. It's only one thing. All roads lead to one solution here. And if you know anything about flu and viruses and illnesses, there's multiple ways to treat this. So when it's only one way out, I got a problem with that. And usually there's a lot of money and authority and power involved. And a company like mine gets hundreds of millions of dollars from the government to, build new buildings and to pursue these types of things. So I could understand in one respect why they want everybody in the company to be vaccinated from kind of like a PR standpoint. But just to make something very clear, in 12 years of working there and in working directly in flu production, I have never, ever been required to take a vaccine. There are very few situations at my site where you would be required to take a specific vaccine. And I'll give you an example. If you're working in yellow fever production, that's a live virus. You get some of that in your nose, in your mouth, in your eye. That's going to be bad news for you.
It's going to be real rough.
It's going to be real rough for you. So that makes a lot of sense. You got to get a yellow fever vaccine. But, when I was working in Harvest as one of these egg rooms, we're actually extracting the fluid from the chicken embryo that, basically the chicken produces the vaccine for us. And then we just extract the fluid. We filter it out, and then we, turn that into 1 billion doses, and then we sell it to everybody in the world. I was getting that fluid in my eye, in my mouth, all over my face, all over my body. It's just an inherently kind of a dirty process.
Sure.
And through all of that, never, ever required to take a flu vaccine. So this is the first time in the history of this company, as long as I've been there and as long as anybody that I know that's been there for 20, 25 years, where there has been this requirement to be vaccinated upon being hired. Anybody who's getting hired now, you have to check the box. You have to be vaccinated for COVID. So I think that's another misconception that people have. And I've seen a lot of comments of that. Well, they knew that they had to be vaccinated when they got hired. No, I've been there 12 years, never once had to get a vaccine. The only time that I got vaccinated in my 12 years was back in 2010 when swine flu was hitting. I was still a temp. I was trying to get hired really, really bad. I typically do not get the flu vaccine because I just don't think the risk for me is high enough. If I get the flu, okay, I'll treat it with many of the other types of treatments and I will be fine, most likely. And that's the way it's been my whole life. So no problem. But when I told my manager at the time that I didn't want to take the flu shot, he said, "Well, I know you're trying to get hired, and if you happen to get sick, it's just going to look really bad for you." I said, "No problem, man. Hear you loud and clear." Went downstairs to the clinic and I got the flu shot. So that was the last time that I got the flu vaccine. And not to say that I won't decide to get a vaccine again. I've gotten so many tetanus shots.
Oh,
You know,
sure.
I mean, there are a time and a place for all of these things. But like you said, I mean, when you went through your training as a nurse and you did those 2 weeks of just figuring out what the process was just to get these things licensed and brought to the patient, you know, I would like to think I know a little bit more about this process than just the regular Joe on the
Sure.
street. And these things take a very, very long time
Yeah,
to
we're
vet
talking
out.
sorry, I lost you.
Yeah.
We're talking a decade or more. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're going through the process now of, you know, trying to let the company know that we're not budging from this stance. But, and it's not even that we're just being stubborn. It's we have very good reason to take this position. And now there's been about 85% of our site has been vaccinated for COVID. So really, what is the worry about a couple of us who are unvaccinated? I mean, if herd immunity still exists, which I believe it still does exist, then really there should be no worry at all. If we know that, you know, it doesn't really matter what your status is, you could still get it and spread it just as likely as anybody else, well, then it really doesn't make sense to enforce this mandate right now. So there's a lot of things that we all know is true and the company knows is true. And this is kind of where I get like a little upset, because if I was just working at Burger King, I would understand why my higher ups didn't want to, you know, they weren't including natural immunity. They weren't including herd immunity, all of these things that we know to be true in the conversation, because it wouldn't be necessary for them to know. And they're just flipping burgers. They're running a little business. They really would have no reason to understand that information. But at my company, it is the literal experts from my area. They know about these things. They are willingly leaving these parts of the conversation out.
Right.
And not only that, when my coworkers post about these things on a daily basis now on these internal forums, they are deleting their comments. They are blocking them from even being able to post. They're shutting the posts down. They just had a town hall meeting with one of these higher ups that came in onto the site. And they love to take questions. Well, we love to take your questions. This just happened yesterday. And, you know, they start posing these questions. Well, we're out of time. You know, they got to about 1 or 2 questions, and all of a sudden now they're out of time.
Right.
When they said they had 8 to 10 minutes to field questions. So it's just very obvious that they know that this information is true, that my coworkers are sharing with them. And they just don't want the rest of the work base to understand the conversation.
Right.
And somehow a lot of the people that I work with, they have no idea that this shit is going on. Like, they know the mandate exists, but they don't know how many people, how many of their coworkers they're losing from their departments. Some departments, it might just be one. I think in my case, I'm probably the only one in my group, but some like maintenance groups, it's half of the group. You know, typically you lose half your group. You can't run your process.
Right.
So it just seems very short-sighted from a company standpoint.
Well, and it's funny. First of all, Top Lobster, thanks for the $5 super chat, man. He says, seems counterproductive to mandate a vaccine that isn't one of your company's one that your company produces. Which, that makes a lot of sense. But this is something that I've been talking about when our government and our media talks about the percentage of people that are vaccinated in this country already against COVID. It's always really been funny to me because I don't know many people that are vaccinated. Like, you know what I mean? Like a large majority of the people that I talk to on a daily basis, that I interact with online, that I have on my show, have said no. And people at my work and people at other jobs other vendors that come in have said no. So I think that companies are doing the same thing the government is. I think they're saying, oh yeah, 80% of the people are already vaccinated. But I don't think that's the truth. I don't think that's ever been the truth. And I think that they're just telling you that so you'll go get it. You know what I mean? I think that it sounds like your company's doing the same thing the government is, in my opinion.
Well, listen, I mean, my company, I mean, for all intents and purposes, is the government.
Right.
I mean, a lot of the funding, if not majority of the funding, does come from the government, comes from the DOD. And, you know, I stated this when I talked to Clint on Liberty Lockdown. You know, I believe in vaccines. You know, I believe in the government funding companies like mine to produce safe and effective vaccines that actually work, that actually do good. And I believe for the most part, that's what's happening at my company. I don't think it's like a whole slew of nefarious characters up the chain. You know, I do think that there are a lot of people who are looking the other way. I think it's a couple of things. There's a lot of people who just like undoubtedly just believe whatever Fauci says and whatever the CDC says and whatever basically the government says, or whoever's at the top of this crisis committee that's pushing this mandate, and they just believe it wholeheartedly. And they think that anything contrary to that, I mean, these are probably some people who don't even think that since they're vaccinated, they could spread it to anybody else. I bet you that there's some people like that up the food chain. And I'm talking about people who make 6 figures. Some of these people make 7 figures. You know what I'm saying? These are very high paying jobs when you get to the top of this company and companies like mine.
Sure.
But, you know, I think probably another part of it is, you know, it's people are making a lot of money. They got a mortgage, you know, they got a truck payment. They've got, you know, their kids are in private school. Now, mind you, I know a lot of these people personally. A lot of them have been mentors of mine at different periods in my career. And I know for a fact that some of these individuals do not even vaccinate their children for anything. I'm not going to call these people out by name, but
Right.
You know who you are if you happen to be watching this. And these are the people who, when in 2020, when we started doing mitigation efforts, we were doing like temperature testing when you came on site. Everybody had to wear a face mask, even when you were walking outside. So like where I park sometimes, like a fucking quarter mile from there to my building, I would be outside in August 2020, even 2021, and I would have to wear a face mask. Nobody's around me, and I have to wear a face mask. So it's just like it doesn't make any sense at all.
None of it's made any sense to me since the beginning, really. Almost all of it, dude.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been super skeptical. Now, I want to, because of where I work and the type of work that I've been doing for 12 years, I wanted to believe, you know, that everything that we were doing was on the up and up. But, you know, listen, man, when this thing came to market, as quick as it came to market, I knew that I wanted to wait. And then once it started being forced, and companies like mine started coercing their employees to take it, I knew for sure that I was not going to take it. I do not lend well to being forced really to do anything. You could ask my wife. You know, she tries to make me do the fucking laundry. It's a goddamn argument. It's a debate for, 2 days.
Yeah, I get
and
that.
I'll do the laundry. I like doing the laundry. But if you tell me to do the laundry, it's a different story.
That's the one thing that when we moved in together, I said, listen, I will do anything else, but I don't do laundry. I can't.
Yeah,
it's like flip out. I get so frustrated and overwhelmed. I'm like, I can't do it anymore. So
yeah.
that's the
well,
one
I don't know
thing.
about you, but my wife, for whatever reason, every time she takes a shirt off, it's inside out. So when I'm doing the laundry and I fold her laundry, all her pants and all her shirts are inside out. So it just takes twice as long to flip them. So now I got to flip all mine. I take them off like a normal fucking person from the neck up. But she likes to take these things off. So doing laundry kind of becomes a pain in the ass, because then I have to flip all her shit inside out. And then sometimes, just out of spite, I flip I make sure all mine's all nice, and then I leave hers inside out.
Inside out.
Fold it up.
Well, she has to deal with it. She has to deal with it on the back end, dude. You know what I mean?
Well, listen, she'll learn. You know, I mean, listen, if you stop playing the game stops.
Right.
And that's kind of where I'm at with this whole mandate thing. And even when it comes to like venues, for instance, that require unvaccinated people to take a COVID test before they show up. Okay, it's not going to kill you to take a COVID test, but why aren't they doing that for every single person that shows up? You're going to have 1,000 people at your venue. Every single one of these people could show up with COVID. But if you happen to have that card of compliance, and even if that thing is 6-7 months old, you don't have to take a test. So even though it's like a simple thing to just go take the test, now, mind you, it may cost money in most cases to go take this test. So it's like an extra $50-$60 kind of where I'm at. So like, I don't want to have to spend my money, but I don't want to give my money, my hard-earned money, to companies and venues and establishments that are going to enforce these things in a nonsensical manner.
Right.
If you're only going to do half of the population that's coming there, well, you're still creating it or leaving a very unsafe situation if the goal is to have a safe situation. So, so I even have a hard time with shit like that. And it's like a case by case basis. It's like, if I really want to go to this place and I really want to, go with my wife to something or take my kids somewhere, well, then, okay, I'll take the test. But if I really, really don't want to do it, I don't give a shit if I don't go to another fucking music concert, another, I don't have to go to Disney World ever in my life. Like, and for more reasons than this fucking mandate.
Sure,
I mean, these guys are off the rails. But I really don't give a shit about sacrificing those things, because there are still places and venues that will allow you to just show up and enjoy yourselves. Because I think for a lot of these places, it just came down to money. It came down to the bottom line.
We've been extremely lucky here in Iowa, dude. We don't have any place that requires a Vax Pass or a test or anything like that, except for my buddy Dan Smots from The System Is Down. He came down here. He lives a couple hours away, and him and his wife came down here to go see Dave Chappelle. They stayed at our house, actually. The place that Dave Chappelle played at required a test. And I was like, what the fuck? But I haven't run across anywhere that does. In fact, even during when we had the bullshit mask mandate here in Iowa that lasted about 2.5 weeks, I think that was it. The only place that ever stopped me from coming in without a mask on was Target. And I walked into Target, and he's like, here's your mask. And I said, I'm okay. I don't need one. He's like, you have to wear it. And I was like, I have to wear it? And he's like, yeah, you have to wear it. I said, all right. I left. I went to Walmart. You know what I mean? I'm like, because Walmart wasn't requiring it. And the other places outside of that was the hospital. I mean, if we had to go to the hospital, they required it. Mm-hmm. There was no getting around it. We had a baby in the hospital. Then my daughter had a baby in the hospital. It was like, I had to put it on. And then when I took the kids to Disney World last October, I suffered the mask indoors. They didn't require a vax passport. They didn't require a vaccine, but they did require, if you were inside a building, you had to wear a mask. And so we would every time we'd see a worker come by, we'd pull it up over our nose, and as soon as they'd walk away, we'd pull it back down to the right above our lip. But I mean, we didn't comply. You know what I mean? Like almost at all the entire pandemic, we didn't change anything. We would be the only family in the grocery store without a mask on. We'd go to the restaurant without the mask on. We just didn't care. And we're all alive and fine. And we didn't care. Nobody around us died. And you know what I mean? And like, it just blew my mind that the people just like really complied the way they did. Just like it was like, boom, okay, whatever the government tells me, I'll do it. Yeah,
I mean, listen, I played the game for a little bit, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. I was like, 2 weeks, all right, cool, that's no problem. If I have to go somewhere indoors, like if I gotta go get groceries, like I don't go grocery shopping, my wife does. But if I had to go do something like that, okay, I'll put the mask on. But after like a few weeks, I was just like, well, what the fuck happened to flattening the curve? And then I started seeing different states and different countries, and like all the data that was available at that time, where like, they didn't mandate these things, and the numbers were no worse. And in a lot of cases, the numbers were better somehow. So it was just like, you know what? If you have any kind of critical thinking left at that point, you just were not going along with this whole bullshit. And so I stopped doing all of that stuff very, very long time ago. I mean, I have a lot of mechanical issues with my body. My health is like tip top magoo. But like I had back problems, neck problem, like my wrist. I'm getting wrist surgery in a couple of weeks. So it's just a couple of mechanical issues. So I was going to the orthopedist a lot. And, I was going to the orthopedist at one point, like every single week for a month straight last year. No mask required at all. And then all of a sudden I showed up and they were like, hey, you got to put a mask on. I'm like, yeah, okay. And I took the mask and I put it in my pocket.
Right.
And the secretary, whatever, like gave me a hard time. I'm like, I'm not wearing a mask. I'm like, so I'm just going to go to the office. I'm going to go sit down and I'll talk to the doctor when she comes out. And, mind you, I had a very good relationship with this doctor.
Right.
She just treated me like Mike. I was just her patient. We laughed, we cried, we did the whole fucking bit. Right. And then that day, for whatever reason, I think this is when Omicron first showed up on the scene. She was like, listen, like she came into the room and she would not come near me. And like when I stood up to talk to her, she actually backed away from me like I was a leper.
Jesus.
And I like pointed it out to her. I'm like, I've been here every single day for the last month, or every single week for the last month. I'm like, last week you had my ass cheek in your hand, giving me a shot in my hip. I'm like, and we were laughing about it. And I'm like, I was just Mike. I was just your patient. And I'm like, now you're looking at me and you're treating me like I'm a fucking leper. I'm like, so I just want you to understand and recognize how easily you've been persuaded to treat me, somebody who you potentially had like a good relationship with up until this point, like I'm an other. Right. And I'm like, it's just not right. I'm like, so if you are telling me that you're not going to give me my treatment today because I don't want to wear a mask, I'm like, that's fine. I'm like, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to debate. I'm not going to fucking make you call security. I'm just going to leave. I'll take my little paper and I'll leave. So she was like, yeah, that's what I want to decide to do. I'm like, okay, no problem. So then what'd she do? She then put the paper on the little bench, and she stood right next to me, and she went over the whole entire report from the MRI that I had gotten. So I'm like, was that what you were going to do anyway if I had a mask on? Right. And she was like, yeah, pretty much. I'm like, so what the fuck was the problem then?
Right.
And she was like, well, you're putting a lot of people at risk by being here. I'm like, whatever. I'm like, give me the paper. I'm like, I'm not coming back to you ever again.
I'm out of here. Yeah.
Yeah. But so it's just like, you know what? People need to understand, like, I get it. There are situations where you may feel like, well, I really want to go do this thing, so I'll just put the mask on. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I get it. You know what? And there will be times where I do that, probably even today. I mean, tomorrow I'm going to see Tom Segura with my wife. We don't have to wear a mask, but I have to do the test thing.
Right.
I gave her a really hard time about it. I love her to death. It was a fucking big problem for us, but we came to an agreement. I finally just said, listen, I'm sorry. I love you. I want to go with you. Let's enjoy ourselves. I won't mention nothing. I'm not going to fucking say nothing while we're there. Unless they try to put a mask on me, then it's going to be a fucking problem. Right. But, I said, you know what, we'll just do it. So there will be times I feel like, okay, people are going to do it. But you need to understand the game only stops when you stop playing the game.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
It. If you stop spending your money there, that venue doesn't do that anymore because they have a bottom line. And once it gets hit, they're done with it.
Well, and I think
Safety
that's why
is no longer a concern.
I think that's why it was never a big problem here in Iowa, because the people in Iowa were just like, no, we're not fucking. I mean, outside of like Des Moines, because we live almost right. I mean, we're in the suburb of Des Moines, basically. So we have to deal with the one blue area in the entire state, basically. But I mean, if you get 15 minutes outside of Des Moines, the people there are like, no, we're not playing your stupid fucking game. It's not going to happen. Yeah. And so like those people come into the city and buy and purchase and go to venues and do stuff. And I think everyone here just kind of understood that like if they ever tried to force any of this shit on us, they'd lose 80% of their business, and that's what it was. It hurt. It's capitalism, baby. You know what I mean? Like,
that's baby.
It works. Yeah, it works, man. It's the bottom line.
It works when it works.
Yeah. If you just stop fucking doing it, they're going to be like, okay, well, everything is incentive and profit driven. Everything. I don't care what the socialists say. It's not even just about money. I mean, there's all kinds of different incentives, right? There's financial incentive. There's feeling good about yourself. There's all kinds of shit. Everything is incentive based. Everything you can think about is incentive based. Yeah. My fiance's got to be like, hey, look, if you do the dishes, I'll do this for you. You know what I mean? That's how it works. Okay. And it's not even, I don't force her to do that, but that's how it works. And people want something in return for what they do. And if these people want to continue to survive and we all just tell them fuck off, like they're gonna have to stop doing it. Period. Plain and simple.
That's it. Listen, man, if you're a business, I run a small business, a very small business that I have to now being forced to transition into. Right. And, at my job at Santa Fe, I've been there 12 years. So I've become very complacent with getting my paycheck every 2 weeks. And now I've been salary for the last year. I make good money there, man. I make the most money that I've ever made at any job in my life. And there's no way that once I'm done there and I just transition into my video production company, that I'm replacing that salary. And more importantly, I'm not replacing the benefits. And, I have a wife and a kid, and my wife is a full-time nursing student right now, and she's going to be graduating in May, and she's doing fucking awesome. And she's doing it all by herself. Like, if she asked me to help her study, it's like, oh my God, it's like the hardest thing in the world for me to do.
It's hard, dude.
So she literally is doing it all by herself, and I give her so much credit for it. Sure. But we're on one income, and now that income is being threatened by my company. And it's just like, for all of these businesses, and like, I don't give a shit if you're a vaccine company, like somebody said in the last show I did with Clint, they were like, you know, you work at a cigarette fucking company, they don't make you smoke cigarettes. Like,
Right.
it's the same exact thing. You don't force your employees to do really anything. It's a relationship where you go, hey, this is reasonable to do. And if it's masking or, you know, weekly testing, whatever, even if I don't want to do it, it's not irreversible, you know? So like, I will go along and be in compliance with those types of policies if that's what they want to do. But once you start talking about injecting something into your body that we have no long-term data on, and that is irreversible, and if you're paying any kind of attention, they're not 100% safe and effective. And I mean, that goes across the board for any of these types of vaccines, but at least with something like the flu vaccine, this thing's been around longer than I've been alive. So it's like, there's plenty of long-term data. I would have no problem going to getting a flu shot and like feeling pretty confident that nothing like was going to happen to me, you know? So, and that's where a lot of my coworkers are at. They're just like, yeah, I just don't want to do this irreversible injection to keep my job. And even though I love my job and I want to keep working here, you know, that's just the line that I'm not willing to cross. And once you start forcing it, well, that line gets a lot fucking thicker. It gets a lot harder to cross because, you know, they say, well, we're not forcing you to do it. No, you're coercing us to do it. You're saying we're holding your livelihood over your head. And if you don't go and do this irreversible medical procedure just to keep your job, then you can't keep it. You can't feed your family. You can't keep your benefits. You can't have none of that stuff. And it's just, it's not, first of all, it's not moral. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure at some point in the very near future, it will be deemed illegal. And if history tells us anything, you know, especially like World War II, Nuremberg trials, yeah, I don't know. And I don't understand how we got to this point with a lot of these companies where they feel like they have the authority to force a medical procedure onto their employees. It really blows my mind that they're willing to take that risk of taking this position and going through with these mandates, because I know people who I work now. I have people who I have a coworker who I work directly with. He was a really, really good guy. He was kind of like me, where he just didn't want to be forced to do it. And I don't know what his like personal health history was, but he wound up passing away. He got COVID, and I don't know if he died from COVID or COVID complications. He wound up passing away last year, and is really sad. You know, he's got a couple kids and a wife, and you know, his wife and I think his youngest daughter, both had COVID. So they were kind of like down and out. And his oldest daughter, who I believe was only a teenager, like 16 or 17 years old, she had us do all the arrangements for, you know, like his funeral and all of that shit. So my heart goes out to anybody who dealt with a loss like that. Like, obviously nobody wants to see that, but it seems like the only people who don't want to force anybody into a position are the people on our side of the conversation. Right. Who don't want to force anybody into taking this shot. It's the people who want to force you to take the shot who don't really seem to give a shit if you happen to get an adverse reaction or a vaccine injury. Right. And I now know of 3 people that I directly work with who have gotten pretty serious vaccine injuries. One of them got rheumatoid arthritis all of a sudden and throughout her entire body, and she's very healthy type of individual, and she was out of work for a while. I believe she's back to work now, and I hope she's doing much better. But I mean, that happened right after she took the shot. Another guy got a fucking blood clot, and he went to work. Now he didn't want to get it. I didn't know this guy personally, but I went and looked back at his like Facebook feed, and this guy was completely against it. But we were all like, within our group, we're like, listen, man, you got to do what you got to do. Like, you don't have to explain anything to any of us. Like, it seems like anybody that I work with, and especially people that I'm close with, if they went and took the shot, they felt the need to try to explain to me a justification. Right. Well, you know, my mom's 80 and she's in my house. Like, whoa. You don't have to justify anything to me, man. That's your option. That's your choice to make. I'm not trying to force you to do anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care what you do. You know, I just want to see you in the best position as possible, whatever that means for you. You know, and I just don't want you to force me to do anything. But this guy was completely against it. He wound up deciding to do it to save his job. And this guy, you know, the next morning he said he felt great because now there was no threat of losing his job, but he had only gotten the first shot. Right. And that next day when he went to work, he started losing his vision. Then he lost all motor function in his limbs. He couldn't move his legs at all. So he had a blood clot. Thankfully, They rushed him to the hospital, gave him blood thinner, and they kind of reversed that from happening. And now he's regained, I believe, like all his motor function and stuff like that. But now this guy's completely afraid, and justifiably, to go and get the next shot.
Yeah.
And do you think my company's going to grant him some sort of exemption?
No.
They're going to say, well, it's not from that. It may have been allergies or some other thing. Like allergies?
Yeah, Doug.
I've
had allergies for a long time. No blood clots.
I have allergies right now. Yeah, no blood clots. What the blood clot? No fucking blood clots. So it's like these stories exist. And I believe, and I was kind of like, I got off track of what I was saying earlier, but the people up the chain in my company, I know that they know these people and they know that these stories exist. But yet they're looking the other way, and they're looking the other way maybe because they don't want to lose their jobs and they don't want to lose their salary. And they went and got the shot and nothing happened to them. So they're in compliance.
So fine. Yeah.
They're fine and they're in compliance. So really it doesn't matter to them because it's not going to affect them.
Right.
But you're losing 200 of your coworkers and your employees, and more if you look at all the other sites. So it's just like, and I think it is too. Once we're gone, because we're the only group who are willing to stand up for any of them when it comes to anything. I put my neck on a line for so many of my coworkers to get hired, to not get fired, to get promoted, to, just to get their name on some sort of list, to even be considered for something. And I put my name on a line over and over and over. A lot of these people never called me. A lot of these people never reached out to me. A lot of these people will never in their life, and I know it's a big ask, raise hell about this mandate, because they will tell you in secret that they don't agree with it, even though they're in compliance. But, they just won't do anything to speak up because now they don't want to lose their jobs. But the only people who would stick up for them are now being terminated come April.
Right.
So when the next thing happens, which is probably going to be mandated boosters every year, and, if they happen to feel like, well, I don't want to take that step, well, now you're going to lose your job, let's say, who's going to stand up for you? Because you're letting us go. All the people who are going to be brave enough to put their neck on the line for you, you're just letting us get terminated.
Right.
And I feel like it's every single person's duty at this company to speak up, whether they're in compliance or not, whether they like me or not, whether they fully agree with me or not, because there are some valid points to everything that we kind of discussed today, that a lot of these people should be aware of. And if you have any kind of critical thinking left in your brain, you will take at least one of these points and go, yeah, that doesn't make sense. Why aren't they doing it at every single site in the country or in the company? And, it just doesn't make sense to do it at this point. So, I'm hoping that they'll back down, but now we're 20 days out. It doesn't look like they're going to be backing down. It looks like the end of the road is near for me at this company and for my coworkers. And what else can I say about it? It's just like, I don't know what else to do other than to speak up on as many platforms that'll have me. So again, I appreciate you letting me on. We don't know each other personally. I know we engage on Twitter a lot, and we have, libertarianism in common and that mission in common. But you didn't have to do this, and I appreciate you. I appreciate you so much for having me on.
I'm happy to do it, bud. And I think maybe we should get you on some more shows too. It's just it's rare now, really. I mean, if you think about it, the mandates have been dropped so many places. In fact, a lot of companies are hiring back the people they fired for not taking the vaccine, and just to hear a company that's so dead set on it still. It's kind of rare. It seems rare, to be honest, outside of California, at least,
So they're going to fire these people, and they're probably going to try to deny people who file for unemployment.
Yeah.
And they're not. They made it very clear there will be no severance packages. So I would think if it was me and it was my company, and I wanted these 200, or maybe it winds up being less at the end of this, people to just go away and to shut up, I'd pay them out. I give them severance packages. A lot of people will take them, even if they're bullshit severance packages. A lot of people will take them because then at least it'll give them a little buffer to get to the next venture, right? But I will tell you, anybody from my company who might be watching, we're not going away. We're not being quiet. We're not going to shut up. If you think this is the last of us, if you think at the end of April or April 20th that this just all goes away for you, It's not going to. And I will make a call to any of your viewers, and something that I neglected to do on the Liberty Lockdown was, we're probably going to be looking for some sort of legal representation. And I would prefer to be within the Libertarian community, because I feel like, first of all, you guys are the only ones who are willing to even share our stories. Anarchists and libertarians are the only ones who are willing to share this story right now and have me on their show. So I put a call out there to anybody who might see this. And if you got this far in the podcast, to please reach out to me, reach out to Josh. And if you happen to be a lawyer or know a law firm who's representing people who are in our situation, we're probably going to be forced to pursue some sort of route like that. And we don't want to have to. I want to make it very clear. First and foremost, we just don't want to lose our jobs. That is beyond anything. We just don't want to lose our jobs. So that would be the first mission. But if the company goes through with this, and if the company keeps denying us a voice, ignoring our questions, deleting our comments, making us out to be conspiracy theorists, anti-vax Trump supporters, well, then I don't know what else we're going to have to do. I mean, It seems like hopefully there'll be some sort of legal recourse at some point, if that's what it's forced to come down to. And I will tell you that this group of people, this 200 people, they're not all Trump supporters. They're not anti-vaxxers. They're all races, ages, religions, political beliefs. They come from all spectrums of life. So it's not as easy as just putting a label on us and trying to put us into a corner and othering us.
Right.
You're going to have to face this at some point. And I know they have tons of lawyers, so I'm sure they're very confident that we will not be a problem. But if it is in our power, if it comes down to it, we're going to be a problem.
Sure.
We're going to be a problem for them.
And you should be, man. I hope you are. I got a beat on a couple of lawyers that might be good to help you guys out. We'll talk offline about that.
Thank you.
First off, shout out to Sim Calpin. Thanks for the $5 super chat. He said he got vaccinated and he's doing just fine. That's what he said. That's literally a super chat.
Nice.
But yeah, man, you got to be a problem. I really think it's great. I'm happy to have you on. We got to talk to some bigger platforms of mine. Maybe Dave will have you on, or Malice or something. But
listen, I'm going to need a connection with those guys, because these guys don't know me. And believe me, I've been tagging every one of these fucking guys. I'm trying to get on the Liberty Report. I know Daniel McAdams a little bit,
sure.
So I'm trying to get on there, or at least have them share the story, because I know they have.
I got Dan's email. I got Dave's phone number, and in fact, I'll be hanging out with Dave this weekend, so I'll talk to him about you and see if we can't get you on at least part of the problem, because this would be a good one for part of the problem. Definitely with Dave Smith and shit, man, for sure.
Yeah. And listen, man, I met Robbie, I met Dave. I did. I filmed the LPPA convention in 2021. I was the one that put that little documentary together about.
You're the one that put it together.
Yeah, I was the one that put that together.
Okay, nice.
So shout out to me, I guess.
That was a good fucking documentary, dude. Really good, like really.
And
good.
then Heist had me come and film, Take Human Action event in Virginia, and I'm trying to do more of these. So like, if anybody really wants to help, man, obviously before I get terminated from this job, helping me get on any kind of platforms, that would be great. I'm actually going to be on The System Is Down on Monday with Dan Smots. He agreed to have me on, so big shout out to him. I appreciate him a lot for having me on as well.
That's the homie, dude. That's one of my best friends.
Yeah, man. I mean, you guys are the best, man. I mean, without you guys, there would be no voice to these 200 people here, and they're watching. Sure. Just so you know, these people are watching. They're tuning in. They're subscribing to your channels. They're following you guys on Twitter now. I'm trying to make some libertarians out of these people, and I'm hoping that we could raise some hell. So any help will be great. And just to kind of plug myself, I'm not looking for donations or anything like that, but I am asking that I'm just looking for work. So if anybody needs video production or editing, you have an event, you're a comedian, you have a show coming up, a business, whatever it might be, a political campaign coming up, I want to help you guys create that. And if you're a libertarian, you're going to get 5% off the total price. If you happen to be a Mises Caucus member, you're going to get another 5% off the total price. So a little incentive there to kind of get the ball rolling. And that freaking Kaufman,
Jeremy,
that Jeremy Kaufman ad, dude, that thing is magic.
That was all Dan Smots, man.
Dude, Dan is a magician, man.
Yeah,
He's got some skills, bro.
We're gonna have to carve you out some space next to Dan. That's a hard one, dude, because
that is a hard
everybody
one,
loves Dan, dude. You know what I mean? Like, as soon as a video starts, you can tell it's a Smots video. I mean, right away, you're like, oh yeah.
I figured it was, man.
Yeah,
I figured it was, and amazing.
He's done some stuff for me too. My outro video, my after hours intro video. He did that for me. Of course, Top Lobster does all my artwork, all the backgrounds you see. I mean, everything that you see is Top Lobster too. So those guys have been really helped. But man, yeah, dude, where can people? You got a website and stuff like that, don't you?
Yeah, Seymour-Mac.com. You can go on there. You can follow me on YouTube or on Twitter and Instagram _Seymour-Mac. Basically, just Seymour Mac on everything, and that's where people could find me if they would choose to, and I would really appreciate it. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome, dude. Well, we'll find you some work. Go get this man some work. He needs it. He's standing on principle for the rest of us, man, and that's a big deal.
Give me some damn work.
Yeah, I know how nerve-wracking before we go. We're about done here, but you touched on a subject that we didn't really cover much here that we should have, because I know how it feels, that anxiety. So I'm a long-time anxiety sufferer, not an enjoyer, but a sufferer, and depression as well. I was diagnosed with depression when I was like 12, and it's something that I've dealt with for a fucking long time. And the COVID stuff really enhanced that to a degree that I didn't really think possible this last 2 years. I mean, sure, some of it was, I went from being a bachelor living in a house with my best friend in California to having 7 kids in my care and a fiance and living in the middle of the country in the snow and shit. I mean, it's hard. The winters are always hard on me no matter what, but it's even harder here. But the COVID stuff, I mean, I spent a long time thinking I was going to lose my job, and I'm the sole provider for a family of fucking 9, dude. You know what I mean? And I was like, and thankfully, I know you probably have the same thing, but I had the support of my fiance saying, hey, I understand that you're not going to take it. I wouldn't take it either. So we got your back. Whatever you want to do, let's do it. And she even at one point was like, we'll go live in the forest and pick berries and hunt deers and shit. It doesn't matter. We got enough kids to do enough homesteading work. So it was a little bit easier for me because I had the support at home. You know what I mean? Of you go ahead and stand on principle. But it was fucking hard, dude. Being a man and being responsible for a family, and then being worried about income and your job, it's scary, dude. It's a scary thing. It doesn't matter how fucking tough you are. It's a scary thing, dude. It is.
Yeah, it is, man. And like you're saying, like as a man and as a father, you feel like it's your obligation, and it is your obligation to provide.
Sure.
And, luckily, my wife and I, she's a worker. She's a worker. She never went any time in our relationship, in our, and I'm going to forget how long, over 10 years, actually about 12 years. As long as I've been with the company, I've basically been with her.
Sure.
She never went without working. She sometimes worked 2-3 jobs,
Sure.
before we had the kid. And, now with her being a full-time student and hopefully that coming into an end very shortly, where she's going to be able to get a very well-paying job once she becomes a nurse. But you still feel like as a father and as the husband, and as a man, that
you're a provider.
You should be the one to provide. And I want to be able to provide, which is, why I'm asking for work. And I'm not just simply asking for, donations. I mean, if you send money to my PayPal at Seymour Mac or whatever, I mean, I probably won't send it back, but, whatever. But, you do feel like that. So, this has not been an easy position to take. It would be far easier to just get the shot.
Right.
Far easier, because then I keep my job, But how many people are in this position being forced by their company to do this, that even if they got the shot, actually want to stay with that company because they were forced to do something that they didn't want to do. So now, again, it's so short-sighted for these companies to do this, because you take people who are high-performing workers, you demoralize them to a degree where they're going to take the foot off the gas, right? They're going to pump the brakes. Now you have to worry about filling those shoes a little bit. And it's just super short-sighted among all the other people that they're going to lose in the meantime. So, I've been dealing with depression and anxiety and, to a level that I never thought that I would have to deal with before. And I know I, said it early on in the podcast, but the silver lining in all this, and the thing that's kind of helped me get through some of that depression, and I'm still struggling with it, is Jesus Christ.
Sure.
And listen, man, my mom's a Jew, my father's an Irish Catholic. Both of them were hippies. I was never raised to go to church or synagogue or, follow any kind of religion. And I kind of wish that some of that was instilled in me at a younger age, because then I would have had some sort of base. But I never thought in my life that I would have become a Christian. Never, and I'm still a Jew. You know what I'm saying? Jesus was a Jew. I'm still a Jew. I have much in common. I used to do woodworking. He did a little woodworking. I had long hair, whatever. So there's a lot in common there. But I never thought that I would be at this point. And the company and this position that they put me in finally forced me to this point. And even though I don't like to be forced to do anything, this is kind of one of those exceptions where I was like, once I started, like when January hit and I realized they weren't budging, I started like falling into a depression. So I started talking to a therapist every week. After about a month of that, I was in the same exact spot that I was in. So I decided to take some of my benefits and go on short term. So I'm allowed to do like 3 months of short term disability at 100% of my pay. But in my mind, I'm still so dedicated to my company. I was like, you know what? Let me just do a month. Hopefully just taking this month off will do the trick. I'll keep going to the therapist. And within that month, I'll spend time with my family, focus on my mental health. And if I have to, I'll extend it. Right. Well, what do you know? I felt like, and my therapist felt like I had to extend it, and now they're denying my extension. I just appealed it, and now they're reviewing that. So they're going to deny it because they want to deny it. And if anybody in my company seeing me on these shows, they're definitely going to want to deny it now. But I'm in the same position that I was in, and the only thing that has given me any kind of progress in that area has been Jesus Christ and has been God. So I'm thankful that I found that, and I don't want to drag this on. I will tell you my story of getting saved and feeling the Holy Spirit and all that shit, because I never thought that I would tell a story like that in my life, but that would be like another 30 minutes. And I know you just work like 3 12s in a row. So
nine 12.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
9 12. Sorry.
I've been at work every single day since last Monday? Something like that.
Holy shit, man. God bless you.
Yeah. It was
the Holy Spirit.
It was last. Let's see. I worked Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So it was last Wednesday to Thursday or whatever. So I worked 9 12-hour shifts in a row, dude, from 5:30 a.m. to 5:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. 9 days straight. So
yeah,
it's been brutal, dude.
That sucks, dude.
Overtime's good,
you know
though.
what? Yeah, the overtime's good. The money's good. You need the money. So it is what it is. I wish I was in a position where that would be my future come after April. But like now I don't even know what's going to happen, because if they deny this extension, we're
going to get you a bunch of video work, man.
Pretty much going to get fired earlier than I think I was expecting to get fired. So that really sucks, man.
And can I make a suggestion?
Yeah, go ahead.
You're really good on video and audio, dude. You should be doing a show, man.
You know what? It's been a long time since I did a podcast. I used to do one with my boy Moses Flows. Again, we used to do like a crypto one, which really just turned into a conspiracy podcast. And I always wanted to get back into it. It's been like 5 years since I've done one. And maybe it is. It's
all about consistency. Let me tell you, my show a few months ago, when I was being consistent and doing 5 nights a week, it was on track to become a revenue stream that was going to let me do this full time. Of course, I had to slow down, and everybody knows that I haven't been putting out the shows that I was before. I will get back to that eventually, but I'm telling you, it was starting to look like I may eventually be able to just do this full time. So it's possible, dude. You know what I mean? I'm telling you, you really can do it. It's a good way to do it. And you're a video audio guy, man. You know what I mean? You can do this.
And I mean the quality's good, man. The mic's good. Everything's good. I got I could talk, man. That's the other thing. I got the gift of gab. Yeah. I used to be really shy and scared to talk in front of people. I used to rap. So actually, when I met Moses in high school, started rapping and doing shit like that. And it was through all of that where I got like a stage presence and confidence to talk to people and talk on the camera and all of that. So I feel like it's kind of in me, but I don't know. Maybe until the point where you just said it, I didn't really think it was a viable option.
It's a viable option, dude.
But if people want to hype me up out there, drop some comments, man. Hype me up and
gas up the homies, folks.
Yeah, gas me up, baby.
Dude. Let's go. Well,
I gotta get Top Lobster on the freaking on the cartoons.
Hell yeah, dude. He'll help you out, man. Top's the shit, dude. Hey, I love you to death, man. I think you're great. I'm sorry you're going through this. Thank you on behalf of all of us that are not playing the game, thank you for standing on principle and telling them to get fucked, dude. Like, seriously, I appreciate it, man. It's a big deal to put yourself out there like that. You got a fan in me, brother. I'm going to see what I can do about getting you on some bigger shows than my own. And hopefully all you guys will go and hit him up for video work and start a podcast, man. Start a show. Do it. Fuck it. Why not?
Yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I love you. I love all you guys out there who are helping us out and getting this story out. It's been amazing, man. It really has. So, yeah, thank you again, man. I appreciate you.
Of course, Mike. Thank you so much, man. We'll talk soon.
All right, see you later.
Take it easy. All right, guys. Hey, go check him out. Check out his video his video services. Go follow him on Twitter at Seymour Mac. Dude's cool, and he's really putting his money where the mouth is. Right? Is that how they say it? He's actually doing the thing that we said we would do. And so go support him where you can. Quest, what's up, man? Thanks for the $2 super chat. For your information, he's sharing on Twitter now. Thanks, folks. So Quest got a big following, like 11,000 people or something like that. So thanks for sharing that. I appreciate you guys. Hey, man, I appreciate you guys hanging around. Like I said on my last couple shows, I know I've been a little inconsistent doing the shows recently with the campaign, which will be over in 2 months, by the way. The national convention is quickly coming up. It's exactly 2 months from this weekend. What is that? Memorial Day weekend. I think it's the last weekend of May in Reno, Nevada. I will be driving 5 of my children, including our 1-year-old and my very pregnant fiance, about 23 hours west to Reno, Sparks, Nevada. And then we'll be driving home after that as well. I think we're going to stop in Wyoming on the way there and spend a night in Wyoming and then wake up and drive through Wyoming during the day because it's really pretty. And Utah is really pretty as well. So you guys know I was raising money, and that's what the money's going for, is that, and trying to get to some of these other conventions before the national convention. I can't make it to all of them. In my first campaign, we raised, I think it was about $11,000. This campaign, I've raised about $4,000. So I can't make it to as many as I used to be able to, and I do still have the family and stuff. But I've been putting in a lot of time for that, and my job and the family and stuff. So that's why I've kind of taken a little step back from the show. But we will get back into the show, especially after convention in May. And I will be having shows at least 2, 3, 4 times a week again. And I hope you guys will stick around and stick with me through all the hard times. But I do love you guys to death, and thank you so much. Please go follow my guest tonight. He's awesome. I promise you, you won't be disappointed in following him at least. Go check out my sponsors. Of course, we have toplobster.com, the man, the myth, the legend, my good friend and partner on Break the Cycle. We're going to get this great Joe Biden wear the mask shirt that you see me wearing tonight by using BTC at checkout for a 10% discount. Or you guys join my Patreon, join my Subscribe Star, join my YouTube channel. I think the YouTube channel is like $4.99 a month or $5.99 a month. There is a lot of extra content on this channel. If you guys aren't aware, I do an after-hour show most of the time. I think there's about 130 after-hours couch streams there. They go anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes, sometimes longer. There's one with Tom Woods on there where I actually got him to say the F word while we were debating on whether or not a sandwich was a hot dog was a sandwich or not. So that's pretty cool. So if you guys can support the channel, I'd really appreciate it. Like I said, I know it's been spotty. If you become an executive producer of the show for $100 a month, you will actually get your name in the credits and some other cool perks and all that stuff too. I know it's a lot, it's asking a lot, but if you guys can help us out, I'd really appreciate it. And of course, check out executive producers of the show, anthemplanning.com, for all your emergency and crisis planning needs. Check them out today. See what they can do for your business, home, or personal life. They're doing a wonderful job that the government has historically sucked at, much cheaper and much more efficiently. And that's the other thing as well, guys. I'm looking for another sponsor soon. So if you guys want to sponsor the show and get your business name on the show, please hit me up and let's talk. There's some good opportunity there. I do have two sponsors that aren't going anywhere for a while because I love them both, but there is space for a third. So let me know if you guys are interested in that. I'm not going to have any more shows this week. I'll be in Minnesota this weekend, in Minneapolis or Bloomington. I think it's Bloomington, which is right outside of Minneapolis or part of Minneapolis. So if you're around, come say hi to myself, Dave Smith, James Gentleman, Dave Brady. Lots of cool people are going to be there this weekend. I'll see you bright and early on Monday next week for a new show of Break the Cycle. But until then, don't forget to break the cycle.
Due to legal reasons, I just have to explain. The lyrics of my last song may seem to contain a violent call to action in the verse and refrain, but I just meant it in Minecraft. The helicopter part was in reference to GTA 5 and the things you do. So any violence you commit, I am not an excuse, because I just meant it in Minecraft. Wood chipper is my friend and he's constantly cold. Accusations of incitement getting totally old. Make your own choices, yeah.